Well, howdy doody there, folks. So we are now in July. Several days ago was actually a week ago was July 6th or somewhere around there. That's an important day because looking from this angle, a year or two ago, I think it was 2 years ago, before I redid this lawn, I took a picture and a video from this vantage point of the lawn, which just really beautifully showcased the frustrations with it and how the lawn basically just pooped out in the summer, much like the grass over here does. Been dealing that with a long time. And just to review, so one fall I tried to do an overseed. I cut everything down really low. I did a really deep dethatch. I added some topsoil, and then I reseeded. The seed came up, but then by the next year, it seemed like none of that good grass had actually stayed. So last fall, I sprayed out everything. I actually did 3 sprays of Roundup or something like that, and put in Turf Type Tall Fescue, elite brand, from Ryan Knorr's collection. And this has been the result, and I want to just showcase how different this looks now in July than it did in previous Julys. You'll notice that this grass has not pooped out. It does not look like that stuff. And by the way, if you're wondering, this is like some old mix of like bluegrass, maybe some tall fescue, as well as probably mostly fine fescue, which does great in the cooler weather, and then it's really great at surviving but being brown. And this is just doing a lot better. I have fertilized this more, and I did spray some onto this. I also sprayed some onto that as well. But basically, like when the grass ends up like this in the summer, like even spraying it isn't going to do anything. It's just dormant until the weather is cool. And we have had some hot weather. So we have had upper 80s. We may have touched 90 a couple weeks ago. We just had like 2.5 inches of rain. We have had a pretty wet July. It's going to be 90 degrees, actually, I think tomorrow or the next day. And so this is definitely warm, and obviously it's warm enough to like kick out these grasses. But I'm just really glad for the fact that this grass is, it's much more resilient. It does need water, but it doesn't need a ton. So it's saving on water. It doesn't need a ton of fertilizers. I gave it a good amount in the spring. I gave it a spoon feeding of like maybe 0.2 of a pound last week by spray. And I did that also on the surrounding grass. And yeah, I did have a little bit of heat sensitivity, dry sensitivity, especially here where our windows kind of reflect light, and also the setting sun doesn't get blocked at all. So this grass does actually do better where it gets partial shade over there, and then ours also partial shade over there. So I've just been really happy in how resilient this grass has been. It's been full. It doesn't use a ton of water, so I'm saving on water. It doesn't need a ton of fertilization, although I did give it quite a bit in spring. But and I did have, during some of the earlier heat, I did have some heat spots over here that were getting a little bit dry. Like I said, we've since had a lot of rain, and now it's kind of evening out again. Interestingly, it also does better in the shade areas, which I may have overdone with fertilizer, so maybe that contributes too. And also over here. But anyway, I'm just really happy that like it's come in like this, and it's definitely not perfect. I still have some POA areas, just from foot traffic, probably from the backyard. So I did spray out some of it already, but it's just such a survivor. I've got to spray out a bigger area and replant that. And then there's some thin spots over there. But this has been just an amazing transition, even just since the spring when I really got attacked by chickweed. And most of this like looked like chickweed, and I didn't know if it was going to look like a lawn, but it's just so nice to have a resilient Turf Type Tall Fescue here, that it's all one type of grass, so it looks a lot more uniform. It came in pretty thick, And you know, weeds haven't really been a problem since it's been in thick. And yeah, it's just kind of there and looks good as long as it's got, you know, basic stuff. And I don't have to hammer it with you know, any kind of fertilizer. I do apply it because I want it to be a darker green, but you know, these new cultivars, they do really well, like even with just a little bit of fertilizer, as long as they're watered, and it looks good when it's mowed. And yeah, so that's been really great.